All right, let's go ahead and get started. We're going to be starting a little early, so maybe we'll finish a little early as well. I have no contact in right now, but I don't have a cornea abrasion. I'm winning on all fronts. I don't have my glasses. I have my wife's glasses, but if I need them, I can use them, so we're going to be all right. We're in a good place. Tough morning. My son David got in a wreck in the parking lot at the school. It wasn't his fault, but you know, parking lots are like no fault zones basically, because it's like the Wild West. There's no road signs. You're just going however fast you want to go. Anyway, poor kid. But anyway, his car got the worst of the damage. So you can say a prayer for that as I deal with the insurance half of that equation. So it was an early morning. Couple of quick announcements before we start the study. One is the Academy of the Arts play is coming up this weekend, and we encourage anybody who wants to come and to be a part. Friday night, Saturday for the matinee, and then Saturday night, and then there's a matinee on Sunday as well. And because I'm the one at the microphone, I'm going to be the one that tells you that Emma Pearl is doing her big part on Saturday night and Sunday. So if you want to come for those, we would be super happy. But anytime you come, we'll be happy. She's got a part all the time, and all these kids have worked so hard, and it's an unbelievably good presentation. So, secondly, I want to ask for your prayers for our Youth Minister Search Committee. They continue to do good work and have been working long and hard, and I'm pleased to report they have made a lot of progress, and I hope and pray and believe that there'll be a report to bring before the church in the not too distant future. So be in prayer for them as they're continuing on this process, but as we may see the finish line, and we're really hopeful about that. And next week, I will not be with you. I am so sorry, but I wanted to share why I'm going to be away. I'm going to be at Belmont University in Nashville because they're having a gathering there of churches that are thriving in a season when many churches are in decline. And I was honored that they found out about Smoke Rise and have asked that I would come and be a part. They're really looking at churches that are traditional innovators, or innovative traditional. I can't remember which way it is, but anyway, the idea is you haven't lost sight of the tradition and the heart of the church, but you're doing things that are innovative so that you have a bright future as a congregation. So I am excited about getting to go and anxious to learn what other churches are doing, and really it's churches from all over the country, but a relatively small group of people. So honored to represent our church at that gathering, and sorry I won't be with you, but wanted you to be in prayer for that as well. And look forward to sharing what I learned. All right, we are looking at the story tonight of Samson. And Craddock calls this chapter the failure of promise. Most of the other chapters have been, all the chapters we've read so far or looked at, all the characters and the stories that we've been studying have been stories of both good and bad. But ultimately, something good came out of their story. Claypool argues that very little good comes out of Samson's story. It provides great material for Vacation Bible School, and for boys in particular who fell in love with He-Man and they find in the biblical character a He-Man-like character. But as far as character development, who he is and who he becomes, you really can only admire him from afar. The closer you look at the story, the more you realize, yeah, this person was a problem from the very beginning and made the same mistakes over and over and over again, and embraced, now it's a more popular phrase in the world that we live in about toxic masculinity. If that exists, Samson was the first one. Violence and sex, that is his story. All right, but the saddest part of the story is that he had so much potential and so much promise, and he could have been so much more. Good Shepherd Lutheran Church, which is in Birmingham, Alabama, and I attended this church occasionally when I was a student at Samford, and I heard a sermon there by Dr. Clifford Helmers. And I may be a preacher, but I can quote very few sermons I have ever heard. I know you can quote every week what I share with you from the pulpit, but I can probably quote no more than 5 total that I've ever heard. But I've never forgotten this line from a sermon that I heard 30 years ago. He said, "The greatest disappointments in life are unfulfilled expectations." The greatest disappointments in life are unfulfilled expectations. The people who can disappoint us most are not strangers, those we have low expectations of. It's normally people that we are close to, that we know well, and that we believe the very best about. That we think they can do something special and outstanding, and we're disappointed when it doesn't get realized. It really is a statement about unreached or unrealized potential. Now, we're not going to raise hands and talk about people in our lives that we know of who have unreached and unrealized potential, but perhaps we can think about some people, historically speaking, that may fit that bill. Biblically speaking, I think that we often overlook it because he's made into such a villain, and rightly so because of the end of the story. But I would argue that Judas is a character that actually has promise. Judas is the treasurer for the disciples. There is a reason they chose him for that role. Judas didn't accidentally wander into a meeting. Jesus chose him as one of the disciples to be a part of this collection of people. And there are moments in the thing that Judas says, we always read it through his betrayal, but there are moments that Judas' heart may not always be evil. It may not always be bad. He may really care for the poor. But we know that potential is unrealized. We know how the story ends. Or, I love musicals. My family loves musicals. A character that was in a recent musical has become much more famous, Aaron Burr. Hamilton's opponent. Aaron Burr, who, at least in the musical, Hamilton says, "You are smarter than me, you're a better lawyer than me. I need you to defend the Constitution." But Aaron Burr, who at the end of his days has ended up being a traitor to the country and has run off to the other side of the world, kills Hamilton in a duel, never reaches his potential. In fact, worse yet, he goes over to England and gets into all sorts of trouble while he's over there. If you want to read an interesting story, read the life of Aaron Burr. Not a good story, but an interesting story. And I was going to say it's on a lighter note, but I don't know. It still may be too fresh for it to be a lighter note. The Atlanta Braves this season. Me and Sonny and Bill Hearn, we go out to breakfast on Monday. Then I'll tell you, in April, our hopes were high. This was a good team. We had good pitching and good hitting, and things were looking good. And in May, we said, don't worry, the tide will turn. And in June, we're like kind of gasping for air. We don't talk about the Braves anymore when we have breakfast. It just ruins the whole meal right now. So, unfulfilled expectations. Let's look at a clip from a movie. I'm trying to do different kinds of medium to keep everyone interested. That is loud.
Look down there. That's not my father. It's just my reflection. No. Look hard.
You see, he lives in you.
Father?
Simba, you have forgotten me.
No. How could I?
You have forgotten who you are, and so forgotten me. Look inside yourself, Simba. You are more than what you have become. You must take your place in the circle of life.
How can I go back? I'm not who I used to be.
Remember who you are. You are my son, and the one true king. Remember who you are.
No, please, don't leave me.
Remember.
Father,
Remember.
don't leave me.
What was that? The weather. Very peculiar, don't you think?
Yeah. Looks like the winds are changing.
Change is good.
Yeah, but it's not easy. I know what I have to do, but going back means I'll have to face my past. I've been running from it for so long. Ow! Jeez, what was that for?
It doesn't matter. It's in the past.
Yeah, but it still hurts.
Oh, yes, the past can hurt. But the way I see it, you can either run from it or learn from it. Ah, you see? So what are you going to do?
First, I'm gonna take your stick.
No, not a stick. Hey, where are you going?
I'm going back!
Good. Go on, get out of here.
All right, that's really the turning point of the movie. And in particular, the line that I wanted to focus on was that line, "You are more than you have become." That line really summarizes the story of Samson. He had the potential to be more than he ever became. And the last line at the end, you can learn Samson never learns. And we're going to see that as we look at his story tonight. Samson is a little bit like Saul. You remember King Saul? He's the tallest in all of Israel. He's the perfect choice to be king. He looks the best. He's the strongest. He's the most athletic. He's the tallest. It says Samuel saw him and Samuel knew this is who should be appointed king. Samson is exactly the same kind of character. Perfect character to be a judge. These are the people that rise out from among the people to deliver the people. Samson is strong and athletic and likable. Apparently has some leadership qualities. He proves to be clever, but not particularly smart, and certainly not wise. That's one of his tragic flaws. Samson could have been a good judge, maybe a great judge, but he really proves to be a buffoon and a playboy. Today I had the opportunity to sit down with Joel Gilbert, one of our church members, for about an hour at his house. And we got into a long conversation about artificial intelligence, and I still don't understand it. But if anybody wants to talk, I know a little bit more now than I knew this morning. But one of the things we talked about with artificial intelligence and the internet and movies in general, the two things that sell the most are sex and violence. And that's actually timeless. And Samson's story is sex and violence. That's his story. It's a story about a life filled with misplaced priorities. Choosing pleasure instead of purpose, selfish desires instead of focusing on others' needs or wants, instant gratification instead of patience, and always, it seems, feelings and sensuality over thought. Samson is one of the most thoughtless people you will ever read about in the Bible. He has thought less about anything that he does than almost any other character. And it's a little sad because his story starts with parents whose hearts are in the right place. Y'all know the story of Samson's parents? I'd forgotten it. If you don't, you're not alone. Till I prepared for this study, I'd forgotten it completely. It follows a trajectory or a storyline, a plot line that's fairly common in the Old Testament, which is parents that are childless. And a father and a mother that pray, and the mother that's visited by an angel or a heavenly character and said that she is going to have a son, but this son needs to act as a Nazirite. She has to act this way during her pregnancy, and the son has to act this way for the rest of his life. Abstain from wine, never cut your hair, allow a razor to cut your hair. This was an act of consecration to God. And we as Baptists, not sure if we like this part of the story because the mother makes it for her son. Son doesn't have any say in it. There's no free will. Mother says, this is what my son is going to do. I can make this vow for him. It's a little like our Catholic and Orthodox friends who have baptism after the child is born because the parents are making a commitment for the child and to raise the child up. Samson's mother does the same. And the father, Manoah, starts well. He offers this prayer for help from God. All right, we're ready. First scripture. Then Manoah entreated the Lord and said, O Lord, I pray, let the man of God whom you sent come to us again and teach us what we are to do concerning the boy who will be born. This is a wise father. Any parent knows the first prayer you need to offer before your child is born and after the child is born is help. It really is a daily prayer. Manoah says, let that angel come back and tell us how to raise this boy, what we need to do. There's a humility even in the request. And the angel returns and the angel offers advice. But when the angel disappears, Manoah says, we're going to die because we have seen this angel. We have seen God. And gets panicked, freaked out. Where does this come from? Well, it comes from an old pagan belief. If you saw God, you died automatically. It was a superstition. Very common in the ancient world. There was no way to survive. And after having this conversation, he suddenly panics and thinks, now we're going to die. And who brings common sense into the equation? His wife, who always brings common sense into the equation. The women. My wife said, you should not be surprised by that part of the story at all, Chris. Obviously. All right, next. His wife says, if the Lord meant to kill us, he wouldn't have accepted our burnt offerings and grain offerings and shown us all these things and announced to us all these things. And suddenly Manoah's like, oh yeah, that makes sense. She basically says, wait, think. Just stop for a minute and think. And he's not a great thinker, Manoah. And his son is not a great thinker. But the saddest part, I think, of this part of the story is that I really do believe Samson's parents were trying to do what was right. And this is just what happens in our world, right? We know of people who were unbelievably good parents and had children who wandered away or wandered astray. And of course, we know the counter. People who are unbelievably bad parents and had children who ended up being incredible people. Those things happen. That's what happens in this story. Two parents who are loving, who are promised something from God, who tried to raise their son right, but maybe, and Claypool argues, maybe what they didn't help Samson to do is to know how to think. They told him just what to do. Don't cut your hair. And if Samson was like any other child I've ever known, he probably said, why? And they probably said, just don't cut your hair. One of the things we're really losing in our world is the ability to think. We're being told what to believe and not being taught. We're being told what to think, but not being taught how to think. Samson did not think, and so I guess he took after his father. Claypool makes the point, the need for careful thought is as essential, if not more, than the need for emotional intensity. Both are important, but we have to have careful thought and processing. We have none of that in his story. All right, let's look at the next part. So Samson gets a wife. I never even heard this story before, I don't think. I'm telling you, we're very selective when we retell this in Vacation Bible School. This is Samson's first wife. I didn't even know he had a first wife. But anyway, Samson went down to Timnah, and at Timnah he saw a Philistine woman. By the way, that's the enemy. He came up and he told his father and mother, I saw a Philistine woman. Now get her for me as my wife. He sounds a little like a caveman. I see woman, get her. Now, he's not asking his father and mother for blessing or advice. He's asking for a kidnapping, it sounds like. And the father and mother offer advice anyway. Isn't there a woman among your kin, among our people, not a part of the enemy that wants to kill us? Do you have to take a wife from the Philistines? But Samson says, I can't see, we got trees everywhere. Anyway, Shrek's coming. Samson says essentially, no, get her for me because she pleases me. Y'all can read all the words. That's good. You know what he said. This is his first wife. He sees her and he wants her and he ignores his parents. Get her now because she pleases me. There's no indication of virtually any thought. And he does not learn from his mistakes. Remember, Simba got hit in the head, and the second time he knew to duck. The story we all know about Samson is the story of Samson and Delilah. And he repeats it. He does the same thing twice. He chooses the wrong person, and he betrays his people. By the way, in that first story, we can't read the whole story, but let me tell you quickly what happens. He's a gambler too. I forgot. I didn't know about that. He makes up a riddle and says, I'll give you 30 garments if you get this riddle right, and you give me 30 garments if you get it wrong. And the riddle is something like, what is sweeter than honey and stronger than a lion? What is sweeter than honey and stronger than a lion? I'm ready. Okay, I'm not going to tell you the answer yet. What I'm going to tell you is his first wife says, will you tell me the answer? After the Philistines had said, get the answer for us. He's like, no, I really can't tell you the answer. Then she starts crying. Don't you love me? If you really love me, you'll tell me the answer. So he does tell her the answer. And what does she do? She goes and tells them. The answer, it's not even a very good riddle. Maybe Samson made it up, not the most thoughtful. The answer is nothing. The answer is nothing. It's not even accurate, actually. But anyway, there are things sweeter than honey, like candy. I can list several different candies that are better than honey. Anyway, but it's not even a good riddle, but he gives the answer away. Then when they get it right, he's angry. He takes the 30 garments from them, even though he lost the bet, and kills 30 people. And all this happens before Delilah. This is the problem. He's not learning from any of his mistakes. Next slide. Oh, whoops, I did have this in here. Okay. Just go past these. I've already told the story. We only got 11 minutes left, even though I started early, thank God. All right, chapter 16. Once Samson went to Gaza where he saw a prostitute and he went into her. That's the whole story, all right? This is just Samson being Samson. You know why we don't tell this in Vacation Bible School, rightly so. Next story. This is right before he gets married for the second time. Oh, never mind. The next story is the story of Delilah. And Delilah wants to find out what is the secret of his strength, so the Philistines can defeat him. And how many times does he trick her? Do you remember? Bonus for this. Turn back the clock. Remember when you studied this story, and you may never want to study it again. So whatever you learn tonight might be the end. 3 times. What is it that makes you so strong? First he says, well, listen, if you use fresh bowstrings and tie me up, I will be weak. So she ties him up with fresh bowstrings. All the Philistines are hiding in a closet. She says, Samson, the Philistines are upon you. And he breaks the bowstrings, and she says, you lied to me. Then she starts crying a little. Why would you lie to me? Tell me really where your strength come from. And he says, well, now, I did lie to you. If you use new ropes to tie me up, I'll be weak. She ties him up again. He wakes up. The Philistines are upon you, Samson. He breaks the ropes. She says, you lied to me again. If you braid my hair, he says, I forgot that completely. And again, she's angry, and she cries hardest this time. If you really love me, you will tell me your secret. And he does. And suddenly, his head is shaved, and the Philistines are upon him. And they arrest him, and they blind him, and they imprison him. What has Samson learned so far in this story? Nothing. And the real problem is, and Claypool does a great job of talking about this, Samson threw away his secret. He gave it to someone who didn't deserve it. He took out his heart, and he gave it to somebody who was going to abuse it and misuse it because he was such a poor judge of character, because he only had one thing on his mind. And we still live in a world that will exploit any secrets they can find. And this is one of the reasons that what Mitzi said at the beginning is so important. next week, you need to come to these senior seminars. I don't care if you're a senior or if you're related to a senior, because we live in a world where fraud is rampant and people are looking to take advantage of you. And in 1 week, I found out about 3 different people who had huge amounts of money stolen from them. And they are better educated than they've ever been. And it's good people with good hearts. And you know what they do? They open the door just a tiny bit. And they let out a secret, or they enable somebody to get into an account that they should have never listened to. AI is scary. AI is not all bad, and we don't have, there's no putting that back in Pandora's box. It's out forever. But you need to live with caution, and you need to guard your hearts, and you need to guard your person. Because there are people who are looking to take advantage of you and to misuse you and to attack you as soon as they get an opportunity. You know, Alexa, is that what it's called? We got one, we listen to music on it all the time. You know, Alexa can listen to you sometimes. That's why when I get on my Facebook every day, they know exactly what I want to buy. The iPhone 17 came right up, and I had just been talking about it. It's not all malicious, they're going to do something, but it is, you're a commodity, and they want to own you. Proverbs 4:23, keep your heart with all vigilance, for from it flows the springs of life. Or maybe better, from Matthew, next verse, Jesus said this, do not give what is holy to the dogs, and do not throw your pearls before swine, or they will trample them underfoot and turn and maul you. Trust is something to be earned, not just given. And that's one of the things we learned from Samson. He gave it, and he gave it, and he gave it. They didn't ask for his credit card number, but it was the same ploy every time. Just start crying and say, you don't really love me. And Samson will tell you whatever you need to know. He handled his secret, his heart, his identity, really who he was, just as thoughtlessly as he handled every relationship we read about. And he treated life flippantly and callously instead of recognizing life is a treasure and life is a gift. In the last act, well, we know the last act of the story. That's the part we always read. Samson gets revenge for his eyes. Samson says, let me die with the Philistines. He strained with all of his might, and the house fell on the lords and all the people who were in it. So those he killed at his death were more than he had killed during his life. This is the only prayer we hear Samson utter, by the way. And what is it really a prayer about? Vengeance and violence. And it's actually a prayer there. This version, which is great, David put this together for me. I'm so thankful. One of the versions says, let me get revenge for my eyes and let them die with me. I'd always heard, he did this to save the people. But in that version, it's very clear he did this to get his own revenge. This is still all about him, even in this moment. What you never see in Samson's story is repentance or remorse. It would have been so much better in Vacation Bible School if he would have said, "Oh, I've done everything wrong during my life." If that would have been part of the prayer. But the whole prayer is, "Let me kill them." And we think of another who did more than just act and react, who operated on more than the pleasure principle, who did more than just vindicate himself with violence. We think of another who came later, who was also a judge, a leader, but his life was so thoughtful. And it seems like he was always reflecting. And those who followed him, his disciples, they wouldn't be able to find him because he would go out early in the morning to pray and to think and to reflect and to be. I mean, we shouldn't be surprised because from the very beginning of the story, we learn his mother, she was always pondering those things, and he must have learned from his mother. And when you compare Samson's death to the death of this one, Jesus isn't between two pillars, but he's between two crosses. You remember? And he's dying innocently. But you remember what he prayed in that moment. Not God smite them. Not God get revenge on all of these who are doing terrible things to me. Jesus was much more innocent than Samson. Father, forgive them. They don't know what they're doing. Samson's story is a reminder that we are called to thoughtful living. So, some of the advice we were given as children, we should remember it. Think before you speak. Because once something's said, it can't be unsaid. In the world that we live in now, think before you post. Think before you send that email. Think before you send that text message. My advice almost always, especially if you're in anger, wait till the next morning and see if it's just as important as it was the night before or the day before or the afternoon before. Say, I think I'm going to think about this a little bit. And I'm going to pray about this a little bit. Think before you act, because you can't undo something once it's done. But you, I believe with all my heart, you were created with a purpose. And you were created with potential. Every one of you is a child of promise. And wherever you are on your life's journey, remember Samson, or remember the Lion King if you can't remember Samson. Remember, he said, you're less than you've become, but he went back and his life was changed. Any moment, any day, any morning is an opportunity for us to say, and today, oh God, I want to be the person that you've called and you've created me to be. Give me the strength and help me to be thoughtful. Don't throw away this precious gift of life, even a day of it. Don't waste it. Invest it well thoughtfully. Let's pray. God, for the story of Samson, we give thanks. Even if, oh God, we mainly learn what not to do, help us, oh God, to be thoughtful people. Help us to be sensitive to your calling. Help us, oh God, to be prayerful people who are seeking to do your will. God, may your purpose be completed in us. And may we give thanks that we are children of the promise. God, help us each morning to dedicate our lives and rededicate our lives to you. In Christ's name, amen. I'll miss you next week, but I can't wait to be back. I'll see you on Sunday.